The Venezuelan National Assembly addressed and denounced in its ordinary session ExxonMobil's lobby actions against oil companies in the country. In Argentina, the trial of 7 health professionals began to investigate their responsibility in the death of football legend Diego Maradona. And in Saudi Arabia, Ukraine expressed its readiness to accept the U.S. proposal to introduce a 30-day temporary ceasefire with Russia. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin the news. Stay with us. Members of the Venezuelan parliament rejected the lobbying of the U.S. company ExxonMobil against foreign oil companies operating in the country. During the ordinary session of the National Assembly, the president of the legislative body, Jorge Rodriguez, urged the Public Prosecutor's Office to apply the Simón Bolívar law and the law of extinction of ownership to those who promote and celebrate the criminal sanctions against the country. In this sense, the first Vice President of the National Assembly, Pedro Infante, assured that the U.S. company ExxonMobil is thirsty for revenge against the Bolivarian Revolution, while he emphasized that it intends to continue attacking the country with more blockades, sanctions, and exploiting the oil found in the territorial sea, which is in dispute between Guyana and the Bolivarian nation.
Bueno, la ExxonMobil.
Well, ExxonMobil is thirsty for revenge against the Bolivarian Revolution. ExxonMobil intends to take revenge with sanctions, with blockades, and now with the illegal exploitation of oil in the territorial sea, in a territory that is in dispute, in controversy, between the Cooperative Republic of Guyana and the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. They illegally intend to exploit oil there. From this platform we denounce ExxonMobil. We denounce Juan Zarate, we denounce Marco Rubio and the whole guild of the United States Oil Corporation, particularly those linked to ExxonMobil, who are trying to harm the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. And from here we say that on May 25th there will be elections, and we will have the governor of Guyana Essequiba, and we will have a legislative council, and this country and this people will come out to defend the interests and rights that are ours by history. Long live Guyana Essequiba. Down with imperialism and its interests of the ExxonMobil company.
In Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro led the working day on the activation of the hydrocarbon industry. From the headquarters of the oil ministry, together with the executive vice president Delcy Rodriguez and other high authorities, the Venezuelan head of state marked the 9th anniversary of the creation of the Bolivarian economic agenda, which has 13 fundamental engines for the new national economy in full operation. President Maduro said the nation is open to all international investments, oil, gas, petrochemicals, and refining. The formula of the Bolivarian economic agenda is part of the successful plan in times of imperialist sanctions and criminal blockades, which allows for a strong domestic economy based on quality national production, accessible to the people, and with a vocation for export. And the Congress of Popular Communication Communal Think Tanks begins in Venezuela. The Congress of Popular Communication takes place from Tuesday 11th to March 12th with the aim of strengthening the revolutionary communication and fighting against digital manipulation of global capitalism. During his intervention in the meeting, the Minister of Communication and Information of Venezuela, Freddy Yáñez, affirmed that it is foreseen to form a communal think tank in each one of the 5,338 communal circuits of the country. Yáñez warned that social media and digital technologies represent a danger for the states.
The proposal that social networks have and the background that exists in social networks is the attempt to steal our political capacity, it is the attempt to exterritorialize the individual, it is the attempt to flatten the cultural singularity that humanity has and to pigeonhole each one of us in an extreme individuality that only feels compensated by the algorithm. Today, digital technologies represent an extraordinary threat in this sense, a threat to the security of states from the point of view of data.
And during a televised interview, Ambassador of Barbados to CARICOM, David Commission, condemned the Donald Trump administration's ongoing effort to subvert Cuba's medical brigades by threatening government officials and family members of these professionals.
A lot of our CARICOM countries actually depend on these Cuban medical personnel to save lives. Many of them are specialist doctors and that they don't have in their countries. Barbados, we don't depend as much as some others, but we definitely needed them during COVID. And we had something like well over 200 medical personnel come here to help us. The response of the Prime Minister.
The Alliance of People United for the Life of Panama announced on Monday a plan of action in the face of threats from the United States and in rejection of the proposed reforms to the Social Security Fund. The activities began with picketing outside the National Assembly, as well as leafleting and marches in different parts of the country. The unionist organizations assure that Panama is going through very complex times and it is necessary to be united to face the ambitions of President of the United States, Donald Trump. They also added that it is necessary to suspend the project of reforms to the social fund, as well as the claims of the Rio Indio Dam, the reopening of the mine, and the increase in subway fare. Now we have our first break coming up. Remember, you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Argentina, the trial of 7 health professionals began to investigate their responsibility in the death of football legend Diego Maradona. The health professionals are charged with simple manslaughter with malice aforethought, a crime that occurs when a person is aware that his actions could result in death and still carries it out. During the trial, about 120 people will testify, including Maradona's relatives, experts, and doctors. Diego Maradona died on November 25, 2020, at the age of 60, due to a cardiorespiratory crisis while he was at home in his residence in the north of Buenos Aires.
With the evidence produced in the trial, you, as judges of the intervening court, and the society as a whole will come to understand what we believe is an absolutely solid and irrefutable prosecution, characterized by the introduction of objective and quality evidence.
Argentine lawmakers filed on Monday a criminal complaint against President Javier Milei for the signing an emergency decree of agreement with the International Monetary Fund. The head of state disclosed the decree aimed at canceling non-transferable treasury bills held by the central bank, a measure with which he intends to avoid passing through Congress anything that implies increasing the foreign debt. With only 4 agreements, the DNU grants the Office of Economy the power to apply the necessary instruments to comply with the fund's requirements. In this context, analysts and experts have qualified the document as a nonsense that does not withstand the slightest analysis. Also in Argentina, where 70% of the Bahia Blanca population was affected by rains and floods, which led the country to declare a weather emergency. In this context, the mayor of the city of Bahia Blanca, Federico Susbielles, reported that the number of evacuees has decreased to 523 people and that the water levels remain low. Susbielles also detailed that the city has recovered 70% of power supply, while efforts are progressing to recover the totality of the service. They also reported the distribution of 100 tons of food and other supplies, while they are in the process of distributing more aid. Moving on, in Colombia, hearings continue in the oral trial against former President Álvaro Uribe for fraud and witness bribery. The trial moved forward with testimony of Luz Mireya Lopez, an official of the technical body of criminal investigation, who knew about the visits made by the lawyer Diego Cadena to prisons in the country in 2018. The prosecutor's office presented the minutes of visits to prisons where, according to the prosecution, lawyer Diego Cadena and others close to Uribe had offered benefits to former paramilitaries in exchange for favorable declarations. Álvaro Uribe denied such accusations, stressing that he never instructed Cadena to offer gifts to those who spoke in his favor. And local authorities in Ecuador denounced that the government of Daniel Noboa has not paid the pending finance debts to provinces affected by floods. According to the Consortium of Decentralized Autonomous Provincial Governments of the nation, over 60% of the population of the country has pending payments. The institution unveiled the debt amounts to more than $500 million, most of which corresponds to territories affected by torrential rains, such as Manabí and Guayas. Likewise, the institution assured that Noboa's government is turning its back on citizens because it does not have the resources to assist those affected. Meanwhile, in Chile, at least 6 people died and dozens were injured after the collision of 4 buses in the Coquimbo region. According to local authorities, the accident took place after one of the units suffered mechanical failures on Route 5 North, causing 2 overturn. 2 other buses stopped to render aid, but minutes later a 4th bus, apparently speeding and not respecting the warning signs, caused a chain collision. The authorities said that the more than 40 injured were taken to hospitals in the cities of Coquimbo and La Serena, while work was being done to clear the road. We now have our second short break coming up. Before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English, where you will be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, we'll be right back. Welcome back. Ukraine expressed its readiness to accept the U.S. proposal to introduce a 30-day temporary ceasefire with Russia that can be extended by mutual agreement of the parties to the conflict. This was announced in a statement issued following Tuesday's meeting between Kiev and Washington delegations in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. According to the final document drawn up after more than 8 hours of negotiations, Washington was also ready to immediately lift the pause in intelligence sharing and resume security assistance to Ukraine. According to the document, the delegations also agreed to appoint their negotiating teams and immediately start talks to achieve a lasting peace in the conflict. In this regard, while Washington pledged to discuss these proposals with representatives of Russia, the Ukrainian side reiterated that European countries should be involved in the process. At the end of the U.S.-Ukraine meeting, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio summarized the main points of the agreement and shed light on further details of the talks.
First point in your question is yes, that's the offer. The offer is to stop the shooting. The goal here is the only way out to end this war is to negotiate out of it. There's no military solution to this war. The solution to this war and the way to end it and to achieve the president's objective of peace is to negotiate. But before you can negotiate, you have to stop shooting at each other. And that's what the president has wanted to see, and that's the commitment we got today from the Ukrainian side, their willingness to do that. Obviously, now that'll be delivered to the Russians. It'll be delivered to them directly through multiple channels, meaning not only will they obviously see it, we've already, it'll be communicated to them through our diplomatic channels, through conversations, and other methods.
In this context, U.S. President Donald Trump offered statements to the press on the temporary ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine.
To Vladimir Putin, yeah. I want to look, that's the other, it takes 2 to tango, as they say, right? So hopefully he'll also agree, and I really think that would be 75% of the way. The rest is getting it documented and, negotiating land positions, etc.
So you'll talk to him this week?
I think so, yeah.
On Tuesday, the president of Serbia, Aleksandar Vučić, denounced that a coup d'etat is underway in the country. He assured that violent factors are trying to forcibly form a transitional government. He explained that an executive without elections, besides violating Articles 308 and 309 of the Constitution, would be the end of prosperous, modern, and flourishing Serbia. This Monday night, a group of students blocked the headquarters of the National Radio and Television in Belgrade, the capital of the country. It is the preamble of the demonstration that they are calling for next March 15th, when they will try to take over institutions by force. The sponsors claim that they are protesting the lack of justice for 15 people who died in the collapse of a train station. The government warns that the violent ones will be arrested and subjected to long prison sentences. Greenland held its own parliamentary elections as islanders headed to the polls on Tuesday amid ongoing U.S. threats. With an expert estimated voter turnout of 70 to 75%, Greenlanders elected 31 members to their parliament among the 6 running parties. In this regard, according to previous polls, main candidates belong to the sitting Social Democratic Siumut Party, the left-wing Inuit Ataqatigiit, pro-independence Nalerak, center-right Democratic, and the liberal-conservative Atasut. The island's Prime Minister Mute Egede called early parliamentary elections amid threats by U.S. President Donald Trump of annexing the territory and turning it into a strategic area, aiming to seize control over mineral-rich homeland.
We're not for sale, and someone should make it more clearly to Donald Trump that he has to stop playing.
I hope the Greenlandic people will vote with their senses today and not by greed. And they will not be seduced by greed. And I don't want to mention his name.
A shell explosion in the pediatric ward of a hospital in South Kivu, east of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, killed 5 people on Sunday. A local radio station reported that several people, including patients and medical personnel, were seriously injured, as preliminary reports attribute the incident to the actions of the M23 rebels currently occupying the capital of South Kivu and Bukavu. In the aftermath, the hospital has reportedly resumed its activities, with medical authorities calling for an immediate recovery of the affected area, which requires urgent reconstruction. Former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte has been arrested following an international criminal court warrant for his so-called war on drugs. The former leader is accused by ICC prosecutors of crimes against humanity over his anti-drugs crackdowns from 2016 to 2022, in which as many as 30,000 people were killed, according to local non-governmental organizations. Most of the victims were men in poor urban areas who were gunned down in the streets. The president's office said Duterte was arrested on Tuesday at Manila Airport after flying back from Hong Kong. The arrest brings solace to the relatives of victims, which had expressed concern that Duterte would not be prosecuted for the crimes. And China's National Committee of the Communist Party urged its members to boost the Asian nation's modernization. With the attendance of President Xi Jinping and other authorities, the closing ceremony of the highest political advisory body was presided over by the chairman of this national committee, Wang Hunin, who unveiled its political strength and democratic vitality. Wang reaffirmed that the organization should better fulfill its functions to expand the capacity of political consultation, to strengthen the determination and confidence for the creation of a new era. Finally, the committee urged the advisors to keep united, pushing forward the national revitalization and modernization of the Asian giant. Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also join us on our social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thanks for watching.